Good evening, Ape Nation. Guys, what's going on? It is Friday, November 19th, 2021. The Kyle Rittenhouse trial is over. The jury came back this afternoon and delivered the clerk a not guilty verdict on all 5 charges for Kyle Rittenhouse after the judge dropped the illegal possession of a firearm earlier in the week because of the size of the gun that Kyle was carrying and the way that the law was written. And some of you guys have asked me if I think Kyle Rittenhouse is a hero, and no, honestly, I don't. And you can disagree with me on that, but I feel like Kyle Rittenhouse was a young kid who was inexperienced in a lot of areas of life. He didn't seem to have any street smarts at all to realize what he was doing that night, how he was making himself a target. And I can easily see why they decided to go after Kyle Rittenhouse more than any other person that night. And I'm just basing that off of his look, his demeanor, the situations he was putting himself into, running down the street in the middle of a riot, screaming, "Does anyone need medical?" with an AR-15 strapped to your body. I don't think those were very smart choices made by him, nor do I think that his parents were smart in allowing him to go there. I understand he didn't take the gun from his house. It was already in Wisconsin. He didn't cross state lines with it. I know all of that. What I'm saying is his parents should have cued into the fact that at nighttime, things were probably going to get ugly. If you want to go there in the daytime and clean up spray paint and put out fires and do stuff like that, that's fine. But anyone who's got any street smarts knows that when the sun goes down, the crazies come out. But I honestly take no joy in this verdict. It doesn't make me happy that he got off. I'm glad he's not going to waste away for the rest of his life at 18 in a prison cell. That is probably the only thing out of this that I find a little bit rewarding. And after watching this trial and watching the way that mainstream media covered it, I just felt like this was something I had to do. I wanted to make sure that I reported on it correctly and gave you guys all the facts, because I have watched pretty much every second of the trial, or listened to it at least. This was just put out at 5:18 tonight, and it's from Leonard Green of the New York Daily News. And he says, Kyle Rittenhouse is no hero. He's a gun-toting, cop-loving product of white privilege who thinks a piece of property matters more than the life of a black man. I don't know how much of the trial Leonard got to watch, but everyone that was on the stand that gave testimony was a victim or an assailant in this trial was white. So who has the white privilege? I don't know. I'm not sure if Kyle had it. I'm not sure if the other guys had it. I'm not sure if the people who filmed it had it, because they were all the same color. And honestly, I don't want to get too caught up in the race card thing, because it's being played all over the place and it's pretty much a dead issue, in my opinion. Is there still some racist people out there? Yes, of course. Is everything systemically racist? I don't believe so, but that's just my opinion. Since I was able to intently watch or listen to this entire trial, I wanted just to bring the facts to you guys, and you make up your own opinions about the innocence or guilt of Kyle Rittenhouse. Because if not for mainstream media, none of this would have probably ever happened in the first place. The way they put spins on things, even after the jury has come back and rendered its verdict, blows my mind. So I'm glad the trial is over. I'm happy to get back to talking about stocks in the Wall Street and AMC and all of the enemies we are still fighting. Honestly, this whole thing was a mess. It should have never happened. There were failures all over the place between the media, the parents, the police, the court system, the prosecutors. All right, but before we get way too far ahead of ourselves,
cue the speeder.
And you just said that on camera. This going viral.
guys, thank you so much for crushing it and getting me to 1,000 subscribers. If I haven't earned your subscription yet, this is the way.
Let me just remind people of the names of the victims. Joseph Rosenbaum, who was 36 years old. Anthony Huber, who was 26. GAIGE GROSSKREUTZ, who's only 27 years old, was injured. These are the victims. These are the people that people ought to remember are the people who were hurt here, not the person who was crying on the stand today.
Okay, so that was Joy Reid's take from a few nights ago before the verdict came back. She was telling her audience basically that the people who need to be remembered are not Kyle Rittenhouse, but the three gentlemen who Kyle Rittenhouse shot. Now, it's become very clear in the past few weeks for anyone who's watched the trial or any independent media on YouTube, these three people who were shot by Kyle Rittenhouse all had lengthy, violent criminal records. And just in case you're not sure about that, go look up any of their names. The three photos that I threw up while she was talking were actually their mugshots. And I'm going to play you another clip to illustrate just how divisive the media, mainstream media, can be when they either intentionally or not intentionally leave out or omit certain facts that put a whole different narrative on this case, and they repeatedly do it all the time, and all it does is stoke the flames of an already irritated situation. And this is Cenk Uygur from the Young Turks, who just a few months ago said that he would whip Joe Rogan's ass in a fight. Look at how divisive this news report seems now that you know all the facts. Roll the film.
Trial. Is it the 17-year-old who crossed state lines with an illegal gun and then proceeded to shoot three people, killing two of them? Or are the two victims who have died on trial? The other individual who was shot and suffered serious injuries, that person's on trial? Who's on trial here? I want to know.
Yeah, so if I was the parents of the victims who are dead because Kyle Rittenhouse murdered them.
And just a quick point. When you raise your voice and yell and make weird faces, that doesn't make you right.
You're not allowed to call your dead kids victims. We have to, but you are allowed to call them all sorts of names. And they're not here to defend themselves because they're already dead, but they're not victims. But so smear them all you want, but don't ever have sympathy for them. So I don't know Schroeder. Of course, I don't know him in real life. He's a circuit judge. But this is so preposterous, so biased, that it would be shocking if it wasn't a deeply racist right-winger. Oh, Black Lives Matter protests. I mean, aren't they all arsonists and rioters and looters? No matter what the race of the people who were killed were. I mean, he went to go shoot black people. They're not victims. Victims? No. If you murder them, you know what happens? The right wing gives you millions of dollars.
Let me stop Sync for 1 second, because he's basically telling his audience that the judge must be a far right winger. The judge specifically said you can't bring anything about all of their violent pedo pasts into the conversation when you are talking about everyone who is a supposed victim. And they're going as far as to saying that he went there to kill black people when all of the victims were white. If you watch all of the video from that night, there were plenty of black people around that Kyle could have shot. Somehow, he managed to only kill this white supremacist, only kill white people. I don't know how that happens, but.
Oh, if somebody told you don't know anything about the case, and somebody told you, oh, the people who were killed were monsters who attacked this poor kid, and they're not at all victims, they're rioters and arsonists and looters and terrible people, and this kid had to defend himself, well, you would logically think, oh, I guess he was self-defense. I mean, the judge is handing it to him on a silver platter, handing it to him. Just get out of jail free card. Well, okay, and then soon the right wing are going to logically think we could just kill them all. There's never any penalty. Where you don't, they're like, what's the downside? I might get millions. George Zimmerman's a hero. Kyle Rittenhouse is a hero. No one ever gets punished. I don't, minorities, they say, oh, black people are angry in this country. They're not nearly angry enough. Not nearly angry enough. We're fighting for justice. So if you're on that jury and it turns out, hey, one of the guys pointed that Kyle Rittenhouse had not done anything, didn't start anything, and one of the guys in the crowd pointed a gun at his head and then he turned around and actually defended himself, then you should let him go. Then he's not guilty. That is actually self-defense, if that's what the evidence shows. So far we have public evidence. It is not what it shows. It is not at all what it shows. But if you have magic evidence that we haven't seen, it's possible, show it to the jury, then we would be for just, I don't want to put away somebody who's innocent. Why the hell would I want to do that? It was probably a rioter or a looter. If you're a white right-winger, you're God in this country. You're above the law, you kill anyone you like. God damn it, I'm tired of it. My God, every time I think about the parents of those kids, it makes me sick to see what this judge did, what those unbelievable monsters in the right wing do, celebrating the deaths of those poor kids.
So, guys, do you see how divisive mainstream media can be? They knew the facts about this case for a year, and yet they still ran with this false narrative the whole time, stoking the flames. This aggravates me. It makes me really upset. I don't like it. It's completely unnecessary, and they are basically doing this for clicks. And as much as I love YouTube and coming on here and talking to you guys, people need to call people like Cenk Uygur and the Young Turks out on this bullshit. Cenk, now that all the evidence has come out and exactly what you said should happen if the narrative plays out as you described it, he should walk. And now the jury's come back and given a verdict, and I'm interested to see if Cenk Uygur is gonna walk back his statements, apologize for that fiery rhetoric that he spit that does nothing to unite us as people. It only incites to divide. All right, guys, it's Friday night. You can I can promise you this weekend we will have a lot of AMC stuff to talk about. I got tons of stuff I want to talk about. I'm glad this is over. My condolences to the families of those who were lost in this case, but the failures across the board really are incredible. And I just want to say, as much as everyone is yelling and screaming about this case, just up the road from Kenosha is Chicago, Illinois. Rittenhouse is from Illinois. So far this year, according to the Cook County Medical Examiner's Office, 793 people have been killed in Chicago in the last 12 months. Look at all these homicides, and I don't hear anyone talking about them. This case, everyone that was on that stand was white. What about all these people in Chicago? Why are none of the progressives? Why aren't the Young Turks? Why aren't Joy Reid getting to the bottom of this story? Why is this happening? I don't understand it. Go, if you have a chance at some point, and look up all of the constitutional rights that the prosecution tried to violate on Kyle Rittenhouse. And just think to yourself, with the whole world watching this trial, I mean, literally it was all over the place. You could watch it live anywhere. How many times have people who could not mount a defense had their constitutional rights violated by prosecutors in courtrooms all over this country and could be sitting in prison right now for something that they are not guilty of? Because that could be Kyle Rittenhouse's fate tonight. He could have been going back to a cell and not to a house. And I think it's important that we keep these factors in mind as we move forward and try to unite us as a country and get back to the basics and figure out what's going on, what needs to be fixed, and do it fast. This is Ape Nation. I'm the Massalorian, and I'm out.